All right, Lions fans, we're back with another one. We're going to talk about the Lions' continuity or building continuity. And with this team, by this being this go this way. By this being Patricia's third year, going well, this is third season, and I guess you could say this is of course Bob Quinn third year with Patricia, and it the first year was what it was. You really don't have nothing to play with. The second year, you didn't have anything to play with. The team was decimated with injuries. And this year, the team is not really complete, but it's more like of completion. 3 quarters complete. Let's say it that way. And you saw the results of this team being a team on all three phases: offense, defense, special team. And even could say the coaching from the coordinators on down, it was a well-rounded win, and which it has to be to win in Detroit. Not just this particular year, not just with Patricia, just in general, for the Detroit Lions franchise, you're gonna have to be a unit to win in Detroit. And I'm going to say like this: Detroit has a radar, or is a if forgive me if I'm using the incorrect word, but it's like a stigma of negativity. It's like a it's like an instant target for the littlest thing that they can do wrong or whatever that it may be. They outside media, inside media, whatever they jump on it and they kick it and beat it, till it's basically dead or left for dead. But going back to this is you start to see the continuity build in the first year of Patricia. Patricia was laying down the foundation, and the second year you saw nothing because they couldn't show anything what they was building for the first year. You still had to do a little overhauling. Now this third year, you saw some of the players that they brought in from the all season, and you saw how they how they had to contribute, and that's great because that's building continuity. And I say that to say, uh, how long does it take to build continuity? This you could say what the Kansas City Chiefs, what Andy Reid was able to do with Kansas City, or with the Rams. I mean, well, not the Rams. The McVay was able to do with his team, or any other coach was able to do. Some people could come into the establishment and they could hit the ground running, but some it may take a little longer. I pointed out in previous videos, Patricia is a guy that's not. He's not Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick can see past what he sees. In other words, instead of going by stats and everything else, Bill Belichick can see like the intangible of a person, of a player. Let's say of a player, and know how to put him in his position to succeed. Look what he did with Gilmore, right? Or anybody that he brought over there. I could say Gilmore and Calvin Noy. Look what he did with them. So it, in comparison to playing in a different system where the person, I mean, let's say the coaches or whatever, the coordinators may not know exactly how to see the player. But in other words, Bill Belichick is a visionary. I don't think Patricia is a visionary. That's why I think he needs a lot of help. He knows what he knows, and what he knows is just it's like one way. It's like if you got a square, and if you were to cut off the square into four sections, he knows his section very well. But now they're asking him to manage the whole square or put the whole square together. He's good at his section, and that's why I believe that the Bevels and the underling is going to be grateful for him as well as Bob Quinn. So you got Bob Quinn in one corner, you got Bevel in another corner, and you got Underling in another corner. So now you got a whole team. So now you put this together, and as you can see, that even with the mishaps and the penalties and so forth, and or whatever, the mental errors, let's say it that way, you could see something is building continuity. His players finna start get healthy. The ones that we have been waiting for the last since last year to this year, like the Austin Bryants and the Deshaun Hands and so forth. That those players, I believe they're gonna be very impactful for this team. But the key components, the difference I would say from last week's game and this week's games is the players that knew how to play. Jamie Collins, now Deron Harmon, and Trey Flowers, Danny Shelton. They know how to play, and they know how to play on a high level. I don't think they ever had to develop anybody, particularly develop a team or help develop a team, how to put the players in their right position, and so forth, and or how to play off a player who may not know their proper positioning and so forth. So I think it's a continuity is building. They have to learn how to play. When you with Bill Belichick, you don't have to do that. Patricia has to be. Patricia needs help being Patricia. And what I mean by that, if Patricia was a defensive coordinator or a linebacker coach, he knows specifically that field, that per se. Bill Belichick knows like ins and out of the football. Like he just know ins and out because he's done everything. From different coachings to coordinators to whatever positioning, whatever that he did, he was. Plus, of course, he played, but he knows the four. If you got a square and you cut it up in four sections, he knows all four sections. He's that well rounded. That's what makes him so good. He put me in the mind of a Bill Walsh, so to speak. But he's just that well rounded. You could put him in this square, that square, that square. He know how he can figure himself out. So this is why he can lose a coordinator or whatever, and he can still keep the ball rolling. You could lose a Tom Brady and still keep the ball rolling. Now, of course, he have a tendency to start out the gate kind of slow because he's still figuring it out. Another guy who was like that, Larry Brown is a guy like that. The ex Pistons coach, he was a guy just like that. He have done it so much, he was able to figure it out. Now, Matt Patricia is a guy who knows the section. So if you have a Bob Quinn in this area at the lower corner, lower left corner, and you have Underling at the lower right corner, and then you have Patricia at the top left corner, then you have Bevel at the top right corner. And if they all come together on the same page, how to help each other, which I think that's what they're doing. Quinn is doing a heck of a job of trying to make a balanced team because he knows it's going to take all four components to get it to work, which it should. It should. It should never be just one player, and I mean one person per se that's carrying it. I don't think Bill Belichick did it by himself, even though he is like a guy that can be placed in all four corners of a square, you know. But I say that and I'm rambling. But I say all that to say that the Lions' continuity is starting to build, and I don't. It's not based off the win. Is even if they would have lost, that would have been kind of disastrous or devastating. But even when how they lost, it's like the resilience that they're fighting. They're the only way they're going to win, particularly in Detroit, you're gonna have to learn how to fight. This is why I said in the prior video that I want them to be in the same situation that they have been for since last year and this year, where they have a lead, they lose the lead, and they got to come back and fight back to win. Once they get that monkey off their back, it's monkeys on top of their backs that you know, they gotta take down. You haven't won a game and you haven't won in 11 games. You got that monkey off your back. You haven't won on the road. You got that monkey off your back. You blow a lead and you still you come back and you win. You know you got that monkey off your back. They got so many monkeys on their back and on out of all of that, on top of all of that, you have the largest monkey on their back. 50 years of losing, consistently losing. So it's going to take all four components to come together. And once those four components is coming together, which they are, it's going to triple down to the players. you're going to see a lot of players going to play at a different level. Uh, and what I mean by a different level, it's not they're going to surpass that. It's just like they're going to. How about this? When I maybe just me, I don't know. I mean, I'm biased with this one, but when going back to the Pistons going to work, and I look at Larry Brown when he took over the team in comparison to Carlisle. When okay, you could use three coaches. You have George Irvine, you have Rick Carlisle, and you have Larry Brown. And even you could say Flip Saunders. Okay, and I'm going to use one particular player. I'm going to use Ben Wallace. Now, on the reason I say that because Ben Wallace was like the face of the team, based upon what he started when he was with George Irvine. Now, is it safe to say that Ben Wallace was a different player? He was the same Ben Wallace that you're going to get the same effort night in, night out. You're going to get the same guy that you was with you're going to get the same guy in Ben Wallace when he was with George Irvine, as well as when he was with Flip Saunders. You're going to get the same guy that he was with all those coaches. But the difference is Larry Brown got the most out of Ben Wallace. He didn't only just make Ben Wallace strictly defense. He got him involved in offense. So there's just certain things like I don't want to say a veteran coach, but I would say a well-rounded coach, a coach that's been around the block that saw different things, been in so many different situations. Bill Belichick in comparison. If anybody were to compare Patricia to Bill Belichick, there's no way you can compare that. Bill Belichick knows too much. He's been involved in so many different situations even before he came to the Patriots. And by the way, Bill Parcells laid down a foundation there. And this is what makes Bill Belichick so good. He just took the foundation and built off of it. He was handed the keys to a Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe goes down. He got I ain't gonna say a somewhat a good quarterback in Drew Bledsoe, but you got a it's not a rookie guy. He has one. Drew Bledsoe has I think New England, not New England. Did Drew Bledsoe go to the Super Bowl? I don't know. I don't think so. But he went to the NFC title game, I believe, and he have had some success in the league. But anyway, the point what I'm saying is Bill Belichick knew that's the whole point that I'm making. He knew how to position certain things. Even when his one of his guys that one of his leaders that he don't have to, you know, reach back or try to figure out what he's going to do. And Drew Bledsoe, when he goes down, he still has alternate plan. He rolls with the young guy, Tom Brady. But he knew he saw Tom Brady and was able to see how he was and was able to put him in the proper place. And people say, well, Patricia should know how to do that, but Patricia's not well rounded like that. He's still rough around the edges. And as long as if I think that will be his demise. So maybe that's just the difference between the coordinators that came from under Bill Belichick in comparison to Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick continued to want to learn. He wanted to know. He didn't think he knew what he didn't think he had it all. He wanted to know more. And so I think that Patricia, if he wants to know more, he will be a better coach. He will be actually he'll go from the doghouse into the penthouse real quickly. And with that being said, with this win, you have players step up. Now, I I love Okuda. I love him. I didn't I going into the draft. I There was a gentleman that was on the podcast, and he had my attention on Isaiah Simmons, and of course you know who you are, Mr. G. So, but I was locked in on him. But then they signed Jamie Collins, and I was like, okay, they could Isaiah and Jamie, they could do some magic with that. They could really do something like that. Do something like that. And I was thinking about versatility. But I'm thinking Bill Belichick. I'm thinking Jimmy Johnson. I'm thinking Bill Walsh. I'm thinking of a coach that was pretty much who been in a lot of different situations versus who's a one trick pony. Matt Patricia's a one trick pony. That's why he sticks to the man defense. Or he sticks to what he knows. He's a one trick pony. But here's the deal: when they didn't sign, I mean, when they didn't draft Isaiah and they drafted Okuda, I wasn't. It was. I don't know who it was. It was somebody's podcast I was listening to, and no. It wasn't a podcast. They was doing. Was it a podcast? It could have been someone's podcast, and they were just talking about the comparison between this stats of Okuda, how he was, and when he was with Ohio State and so forth, and what he brought, his intangibles, and and I'm looking at like how he approaches the game. Like I'm looking from a psychological thing. I'm not looking from a athletic or being talented per se, but I'm looking for like what's between the ears. How does the brain tick? And because to be in Detroit, you have to be like, I don't want to say gaudy, but you have to be shrewd in a way, but you have to be very tough. And I saw that with Akuda and going to this game and whatever. And I stick by him that I don't know about the third overall pick. I don't know about him being the fifth overall pick. I don't know about him being anything, but they picked him at third. And to see him play today in comparison to how he played last week, whatever, he progressed. And that's why I like him is that you're gonna knock him down, he's gonna get back up, and he's gonna keep fighting. I labeled him the Kobe Bryant of football because Kobe Bryant was a guy when he came in as a rookie, he wanted the status, he wanted the fame of Michael Jordan. It's clear he wanted his whole everything was built off of that. But the deal is he worked and worked and worked and worked. You was not going to deny him anything. He you won't say you gave him anything. He worked for it. And I believe Okuda's gonna have that self same ethics. He's gonna work really hard to improve his game. He's gonna do a lot of game study. He's gonna work with a lot of people off the field. He's gonna work with veterans. He's gonna work with players that's in the league, players that retire, Hall of Famers. He's gonna do his due diligence. That's why I like him. He just mature in that aspect. He's gonna invest into himself. So he's gonna get better. But of course he made the interception, but the tackle I think that was the monkey. He was getting the monkey off his back of all the critics and everything. From him being picked third overall, and him going to the Lions and the fans with the Lions and they dogging him, and you hear a lot of stuff. You can't run from it all, but so he basically got a little monkey off. That's why that hit was like what it was, and plus he's aggressive anyway. But he's tough. I like Okuda. I like him. But Jamie Collins and Duron Harmon. And I'm going to bring up those two. I brought up earlier in prior videos about those two, along with Trey Flowers and Danny Shelton and Desmond Trufant. Desmond Trufant, if he's not out for the season, I don't know if he's on IR for how many weeks that he's going to be out. But if he's still going to play for the season, he's going to contribute to this team. And I would say, okay, the bye week is the fifth week. I would say by the sixth week, you're gonna start seeing a lot of those players that was on IR from last year to this year, or that was got put on IR from being injured, particularly like Austin Bryant and so forth. If not, they're gonna get waived or cut. But you're gonna see guys like that. You're gonna see Desmond Trufant. You're gonna see a lot of players get healthy, and by that time, by the sixth week, I'll say by the bye week, the fifth week, you're gonna start. This is going into the. This is third week. Yeah, this is third week. So going into the fourth week, I'll say you're gonna see a little bit more continuity. Now, even if they lose against the Saints, even if they lose, I don't see that. But even if they lose against the Saints, I'm looking for continuity to be built. They don't know each other, and this is the whole point of this video. The the coach doesn't know what he got in his coordinators, and his coordinators don't know what they got in their players. Their players don't know what they got in their teammates. It's a lot of uncertainty, And the one certainty that you're supposed to have is Matthew Stafford supposed to be the solid guy, 10 plus years. But I'd say take the ball out of his hand. I mean, he's good at certain points, But when it's like if you're third and third and two, or you're on a goal, you in a red zone, get the ball out of his hands. I'm sorry, you have running backs to run the ball, even if they don't move the pile. You keep running that ball. I'd rather for you to get third in inches and get denied than you third in inches and you there's a possibility you could get sacked or you can get a turnover. And I look at that pressure's kind of thick for Stafford. He put it like this. He's Joe Cool in this regard that he has ice in his veins. He get knocked down, he get back up, but he can get rattled very easily. And I don't. I'm not. AP has been in so many of those situations with the ball. Of course, and you got to give him some help with the push of the offensive line. And if I may tag on that for a second, the offensive line wasn't good as it was for the first 2 weeks in comparison to this third week is because they did a lot of shuffling. Now Joe Dahl went down, so they went for Vitae going to I think he was at right guard, and they had Crosby at tackle, and I think they moved Jonah to left guard. So you have a lot of people that's not familiar with each other. Once again, there's no continuity. So if they still have to figure out now how they're going to do their offensive line if Joe Dahl is out for a lengthy time, or if you're going to keep Vitae at which guard position, or if you're going to put Crosby at a guard position, or you keep Crosby at the tackle, you're going to put Vitae at the tackle. You have something they have to figure out. And even with that being said, they still was able to establish a run game. So I don't hear anybody talking about that. If they do, then that's good. That's a lot to consider. What I mean by that, if the offensive line has no continuity because they're shuffling, and which is okay, injuries are part of the game, but you still got, if there was never nothing, there's nothing built at all. There's nothing. It was something developing with the right side with Jonah and Crosby for the last past. I mean, week or two. I don't know if they was playing for a week or two. Yeah, because I think Vitae he haven't played. This is his first game he played, and so they was developing something on that right side. Joe Dahl and Decker was developing something on the left side. That's why the first two games they was getting pushed and they was getting holes for AP. So, but now you shuffling around because Joe Dahl went down, so now Vitae came back, and you never really played with them, so the players don't really know how to play off each other yet. Continuity is the key. So it's going to take time for them to build that, you know, on all three levels. That's on offense. If the offensive line is solidified, it's going to take care of everything else. Once the offensive line is figured out, Stafford is going to be more settled, and the run game is going to be more established. The receivers are going to know everybody going to know their job because it's based off of something that's built a foundation. But you can say the same thing with the defense. There's not one position group on the defense that is solidified. They're still playing, they're still figuring it out. Underling and Patricia are still figuring out who fits what with where and who to do the best to their ability what they have to work with. Now, let's say like hypothetically, if every player that they had was healthy, all their, we would say the key players were completely healthy, and you have a little bit more. If they was healthy like the first week, you have something to play with. Even if you lose the first week, even if you lose the second week, you got something to build off of and see how you can, you know, you can't even make adjustments to another team because you don't even know what you have on your team. In other words, you don't even know what's the best of your players yet, and that's the reason why when they talk about firing Patricia, I get it to a certain degree, but at the same time, there's nothing to you have really nothing to fire him for besides saying blowing leads. But blowing leads could be is like the game is positioning. It's a game of inches. It's a game about position. It's a situational football. So a player that doesn't know his assignment, that's pushed in a position that he never was familiar with, or not working with the guy next to him. You're talking about a quick study. You're talking about players that got to learn on the fly. They may not be that type of guy. It's so much to consider. But this game showed me that they have resolve and they're building on a continuity with that. This team is going to be dirty. It's going to be nasty. And the reason why I say that because the 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 three guys that I will give the game ball to, and they of course they're on defense. There will be Okuda, Harmon, and Jamie Collins. They all are tough. And Trey Flowers, I'll give him a game ball to as well. Even though he got hurt a little bit, but they're all tough. They're mentally tough. Now they're gonna do some head scratching things, whatever, or whatever. As long as that's not who they are, as long as they're not making those kind of mistakes all the time. Huh. So I won't harp on them about like most fans will about when they did this, whatever. Fans, they're gonna nitpick because they want something to be what it's not, and it's too early for it to be perfection. They don't even know how to work together yet. There is no off season, and they coming together for two what this is a year and 3 games, a year and 3 weeks. They're coming together, and they players is getting healthy to come play. We starting to play. It's too early for us like to say what this team is going to be. So there's no identity yet. But once that one position group on the defense is solidified, it's going to trickle down for the other two. All right, Lions fans. With that being said, I salute.